Welcome to the Pro Fund Accounting Training Series. If you haven't seen the previous video in the series on General Ledger Post and User Preferences, please stop and view that video.
In previous videos, we showed how to enter a vendor and a quick example of putting in an invoice. This video will expand on this and discuss all the options available to you in Accounts Payable Post. When you first open Accounts Payable Post, it will ask for an effective date and journal number. The effective date is the date that the information in this journal will be entered for your invoices. The journal number will be automatically incremented by Pro Fund Accounting. Enter your effective date and click OK. The next window that shows is asking you to enter the vendor, invoice date, and optional invoice number for the invoice you are entering. On this screen, you can select a vendor by code or by name by clicking the appropriate select option. There are two buttons to the right. The first one will show this vendor's vendor maintenance information. The second one will show a report that has all the transactions made to this vendor. Next, enter the invoice date. This invoice date is the date that is printed at the top of the invoice. You should not confuse this date with the effective date of the journal. Entering the proper invoice date is important, as this is the date that Pro Fund Accounting uses to determine any purchase discounts. Next, enter your invoice number that is printed on the invoice. If there is not an invoice number, click the button to the right, and it will retrieve the last invoice number for this vendor that you've posted in Pro Fund Accounting. You should change it before clicking OK. This is important because the invoice number is used to determine if there is a duplicate invoice entered. Click OK and a window will show, asking for the total amount of the invoice. Enter the amount. Depending on system options, you may need to enter the purchase order number. Next, enter the description for this invoice. This description will be used on reports when invoices are to be shown. Optionally, enter in the memo field any pertinent information about this invoice that you wish to retain. The bottom of the screen will have the discount terms that you specified for this vendor from the Accounting tab in Vendor Maintenance. You can modify these terms or specify new terms for the invoice by changing either the percent or amount. Once you have this part filled out, click the Distribution tab or the Distribution button next to the description. Click on the New button and enter the account number, quantity if needed, the amount, and a description for this individual distribution. This description will be shown in the reports when looking at a detail of invoices for a specific vendor. Pro Fund Accounting allows you to enter invoices that may have to be split between multiple account numbers, even if those account numbers are also in separate funds. Pro Fund Accounting has the smarts to correctly put the fund accounting offsets for each of the funds that may be specified in the distributions. You will notice as you enter additional distributions, the amount field will automatically show the current balance due from the invoice amount. The button next to the amount will always put the remainder of the invoice in the amount field. You can enter multiple invoices in the same journal by clicking the New and repeating the process. When you are finished, click Commit and enter a journal description. To pay the invoices you have posted, click the Payables module and select Pay Invoices. The following window will appear. Start by clicking on the Load button. A window will appear, asking for the bank that you are making the payments from, the date on the checks, and the starting check number. Also, there are options to have specific invoices preloaded into the Invoices to Pay section on the payment screen. The options are Load by Fund, Load All, Load Prepay, Load by Net Date, and Load None. You would select Load by Fund if you have funds that have their own checking account established in Pro Fund Accounting. This will allow you to specify which funds are appropriate to pay with the bank that you selected and the starting check number. For instance, if you have a general road, fire, and police funds, and the police fund has its own checking account, you would specify the bank, the check date, and starting check number. Then select Load by Fund and choose the police fund from the list and click OK. This will load only the unpaid invoices that had a distribution posted to the police fund into the Invoices to Pay list. Load All will load all unpaid invoices into the Invoices to Pay list. The Load Prepay option will only show if you have a prepay payment cycle to complete. We will describe the prepay cycle later in this video. When selecting Load by Net Date, you will need to specify the net date you wish to use. All unpaid invoices with a net date on or before this date will be loaded into the Invoices to Pay list. Load None will put all unpaid invoices into the Unpaid Invoices list. Now that you have the invoices loaded, you can move a single invoice to the Unpaid Invoices list from the Invoices to Pay list by highlighting the invoice you wish to move and clicking the red arrow pointing up. You can likewise move an invoice from the Unpaid section to the Invoice to Pay list by highlighting the invoice and clicking the red arrow pointing down. You can also move all invoices to pay to the Unpaid Invoices by clicking the large blue up arrow. Likewise, you can move all the invoices from Unpaid Invoices to the Invoices to Pay by clicking the large blue down arrow. At the bottom of the screen, you will see the totals for the selected invoices to pay. You can change an individual invoice to do a partial payment and/or force a discount amount. Once you have all of your invoices to pay specified, and any additional amounts or discounts, you can then click Pay. ProFund Accounting will post the correct offsetting entries to your cash accounts and generate the checks for each vendor. When you click on Pay, a window will come up asking for an effective date. In most circumstances, this should be the same as the check date. Click OK and a screen will show the totals for the journal. If your board requires you to go through a prepay cycle, instead of clicking Pay, click Prepay. A window will show, asking for a prepay description. Enter the description, and ProFund Accounting will pre-allocate the checks for you to return later and pay them. Once your board has approved the prepay, you can finish the prepay cycle by clicking on Pay Invoices from the menu. ProFund Accounting only allows one prepay cycle. The only option will be Load Prepay. Click OK and the bank, check date, and starting check number will be automatically loaded from your prepay and can be adjusted. By clicking OK, we will load all of the invoices that you pre-allocated in your prepay. You can make any additional changes to the invoices by changing either the amount or the discount. When you are satisfied with the invoices, simply click the Pay button, and this will pay those invoices and finish the prepay cycle. If your board did not approve the prepay, or for any other reason, you need to remove the prepay from ProFund Accounting, during the Load options, there is a Delete button that will remove the prepay.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.